So what happens when the dream you risked everything to build is no longer the business you're meant to lead? Do you hold on because of the time, energy, and identity you invested in it? Or do you accept that entrepreneurship sometimes requires you to reinvent not only your company, but yourself? Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. My guest today left the security of a conventional career to pursue his dream of working in sports. That decision led him into sports media, content creation, podcasting, coaching, leadership, and eventually the rapidly changing world of artificial intelligence. His journey demonstrates that entrepreneurship isn't always about building one company for the rest of your life. Sometimes it's about having the courage to recognize who you're becoming and building the next chapter around that person. My guest today is Rob Cressy, an entrepreneur, AI establishment coach, keynote speaker, and host of the Undeniable Leader podcast. Rob's entrepreneurial journey began with a dream of working in sports. After working in digital advertising sales, he took the leap and created Bacon Sports, initially envisioning it as a sports comedy blog that could grow into a major sports media company. That venture became the beginning of a much larger journey through content creation, branding, podcasting, coaching, leadership, and personal development. Today, Rob helps entrepreneurs and leadership teams move beyond casually experimenting with artificial intelligence and begin integrating it meaningfully into how they think, lead, create, and grow. But his message isn't about replacing people with technology. It's about using AI to amplify human creativity, experience, judgment, and leadership. Rob believes the best results occur when we lead with who we are, and that the most successful approach to AI will be human first and heart-led. And it all begins right now. Stick around. Rob Cressy, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Super excited to be here.
The excitement shows in your voice. I've watched a lot of your podcasts and other stuff that you've done, and definitely your enthusiasm transfers through the electrons and comes out the other side. It's almost contagious. Your entrepreneurial story is quite interesting to me because you weren't necessarily reluctant about the dream. But you still had to leave the security and convenience and all of that perceived good stuff that comes with a conventional career in order to pursue your dream. What part of you was confident that you were making the right decision, and what part of you was a bit fearful?
So there was actually no fear because the bigger risk for me was never taking the risk at all. And the framing for this it can help everybody is the version of me that you're hearing right now was not who I was 16 years ago. And there's various levels to this game. And for me, I went to college at Miami of Ohio, and I had a degree in marketing, and my dream was to work for an ad agency, being creative and brainstorming and doing like you see in Mad Men, even though Mad Men wasn't.
I was going to say Mad Men. Yeah, perfect.
And little did I know that I would be unemployed for a year and a half out of college, dead broke, living off my credit card, trying to get jobs as a server. And then finally, when I did land a job, it was at a Fifth Third Bank call center, making $10 an hour, slinging home equity loans inbound in a computer that didn't have email or internet access. I was as far away from my dream of what I wanted to do as possible. And then for the subsequent 8+ years, I would flip jobs that were a closer commute or paid more money. And I was in sales during all of this time. And I was very much that person who lived for the weekend. I did not wake up every day enjoying what I did for 8 years in a row. So the reason why taking the leap of entrepreneurship had no fear for me is because I'd lived a life I did not like for 8 years. And as I matured in my sales life, I randomly got in the digital advertising industry, selling banner ads and text links and emails and newsletter, the way that you would monetize a publisher website. And I became very successful at it and made a lot of money. So I went from dead broke to making multiple six figures over that period of time. And Mike, when you talk about the leaving the comfort of ... I think back to talking to my mom about this. And it's like, well, honey, you're making such good money. Why wouldn't you just want to keep doing this? And here's what it was like in my mind the days and months before I made the leap. So as the intro said that I eventually left to live my dream of getting paid to talk about sports for a living. But I wrote free sports content for 10 years without getting paid a dime for it. It was one of those things where I love sports, I love creating, I love writing. This is early internet of when blogs were a thing. So I would sit there at work and dream of the day when I could just wake up and write a sports blog and multiple pieces of content. So much so that I was mailing in my job as the top performing salesperson. So imagine 20 hours of my week, I'm doing my actual job, and the other 20 hours of my week, I'm writing sports blogs while on the company dime, right? Because you can mail it in at a certain point and still be great at it. And I just sat there and I audited the sports landscape of the content that I saw there. And I vividly remember this. And I said to myself, I am as good or better than everything I see out there when it comes to creating, because so much of sports content was just aggregation, copy paste what you see on ESPN or Bleacher Report or something like that. I was like, I live this. I am a sports fan. And because of that, I sat there and I was like, man, the bigger risk is never taking this risk, because I knew I belonged and I had to know. I was totally willing for this to not work. And at the same time, I never entertained that this would not work. So a lot of people, the big challenge is oh my God, like what was it like when you made the leap? Wrong question, because the leap into entrepreneurship is the start, not the end, right? So many people are like, I am here, I want to do my own thing. What they don't realize is once you do your own thing, and you know this, Mike, from your journey as a seasoned entrepreneur, then the meter starts, right? And you wake up the first day and there's no one to tell you what to do. Do you work out? Do you call anybody? I had no clients, no website, no revenue, no nothing. But guess what I did get on that very first day of entrepreneurship? Self-awareness. It blows my mind, absolutely blows my mind that through years K through 12, 4 years of college, and a decade in corporate America, not a single person in my life said, Rob, this is what self-awareness is. It wasn't until that very first day in which I'd quit my job and I woke up in the morning. And for a lot of people, when they make this leap, and when I hear what you're saying about that, well, what about the fearful? It's like, oh my God, everything's on me now? That's so overwhelming. When you're working jobs you don't like for 8 years in a row, I was like, holy smokes.
Anything
you're
would be
telling
better.
me everything's on me. Anything's better than what I was doing.
Yeah.
And 16 years later, I have not stopped. So that's why you hear this enthusiasm, because I'm not working in a Fifth Third Bank call center.
I guess when you take the leap and then you look into the void, because it is a void at that point, because you've got nothing, right? There's not necessarily a business plan. You don't have partners. You probably don't have a bunch of investors. At some point when you're alone in the room, the only thing to be aware of is yourself, right? So I guess that's where self-awareness really becomes apparent, because I mean, you can almost, metaphorically speaking, you can hear your own heartbeat, because it's empty, right? And it's yours to create, it's yours to forge, and it's your path to walk. And no one's there telling you what to do, for better or for worse. No one's there to blame. It's just Rob, right? And it's the world according to Rob, the business world according to Rob at that point.
Okay, so as we go along this journey, Mike, right now I'm a coach around AI enablement, helping entrepreneurs and their teams integrate AI into what they're doing in a human first way to grow anything they want in their life. And before that, I was a personal development and high performance coach, helping people become the best version of themselves. But here's the thing, Mike, never, ever in my life resume did I say to myself, you know what? I want to become a coach. Why? Because entrepreneurship is the greatest personal growth and development program known to man. I was at zero, created self-awareness, and then a growth mindset. And there is a quote that has been my mantra, series of them, every single day for 16 years in a row. And that quote is, make today better than yesterday. So that was my only goal, because I sat there in early entrepreneurship, no revenue, no clients, no relationships. And I said, listen, if I don't make any revenue today, this week, or this month, how can I make sure that that is not the only metric of my success? Because if it is, I'm screwed, because right now I'm at zero. And that's when I learned something, that there's two things no one can ever take away from you. Number one, what you learn, and number two, your mindset. So at that time, I started to audit the success habits of the most successful people in the world, the people that I aspired to be like and do things like. And I kept hearing the same things over and over again. The average CEO reads 60 books a year. The average CEO reads 60 books a year. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm reading zero. I've never read a book in my life aside from what I had to do. So since I want to model success, I was like, I should probably learn how to create a reading routine. So if something's important enough, you'll always find time to make it happen. When is there always time? First thing in the morning. So every single day for the last 16 years, weekends including, the first thing that I have done is read a book for 30 minutes. This is leadership, entrepreneurship, creativity, marketing, you name it. Because, Mike, by learning first thing in the morning for 30 minutes, right away, I've guaranteed that I'm better today than I was yesterday.
And the mindset
Can't
for the
take
day
away
is
what
set.
I just learned.
Yeah.
Got that mindset. So a decade later, with no coaching website or anything, I'm Rob, the sports guy, Rob, the podcast guy. A CEO of an ad agency in New York reached out to me, followed me on Instagram and said, hey, I see the way that you live. Can you help coach my sales team on how to be better at business by being better at life? And I was like, sure. All I have to do is reverse engineer the last 16 years of my life, or the last 10 years of my life, on how I turned myself into a high performer. And that started me as a coach.
That's amazing. Let's talk about Bacon Sports for a second. I am always fascinated with the origin of business names. So, Bacon, tell me about that.
So, I have one of the things I believed in immediately in building an original sports comedy blog was web design, right? It's your storefront. So the first thing that I did is like, I'm investing in a website. And through that, I'm sharing this vision that I have with the developer, and I don't even have a name or anything with it. And we're throwing around a variety of things. And shout out to my friend Adam. And he's like, what about Bacon Sports? And I was like, I like bacon and I like sports. They're two of the greatest things in life. And it is completely aligned to the demographic of what we're building. This does not mean that at that time I'm sleeping in bacon sheets and have bacon books and my middle name is Bacon. No, it's just it's a name. But little did I know the love that people have for bacon. And when you put together two of the greatest things in the world, boom shakalaka, creates some magic.
Well, I'll tell you, if I were to do it over again, following your philosophy, I would have to name my company. My company is called Aqueous Technologies. I would name it Taco Technologies because that would be my go-to. I love bacon too, but so Bacon Sports began with the ambition of turning a sports comedy blog. I'm going to ask you about the comedy routine in that. I love that, into a significant sports media company. What did you understand about building a business at that time, and what did you discover that you were completely unprepared for?
Well, I was completely unprepared for everything, and I understood
Yes. Yeah.
nothing of business. Up until that point, my entrepreneurial career was two things. One, back my first entrepreneurial journey is when I was 26 years old, selling the digital advertising. I created an online ad sales brokerage. Essentially, I knew the advertisers and then I knew the publishers because that's what I did for my job. I put them together, got a 20% cut, and it's called mailbox money, right? So it's just a straight, I know you, give me a cut of this, good. But once again, digital advertising is not what I wanted to do. And the other business that I had ran at the time was I opened up a beer pong company with my friends in Chicago.
I see a trend here. Of all the things Rob likes, you start a company about them. That's awesome.
Crazy concept, right? So, Mike, you're going to love this then. So you see the secret sauce to why this is not about fear for me. Yeah. Because in digital advertising, the last job that I had was for a company called legacy.com. And you know what they do? The world's largest online obituary website.
Wow.
Right. Who in the world wants to sell advertising for an obituary website? Yeah. Apparently, I raised my hand because no one at that time had successfully sold advertising for an obituary website. But they had some crazy number like 300 million or 500 million ad impressions available a month. And I was like, if I can figure out how to do this, I can do anything. Well, I did that for 2.5 years very successfully. So then, Mike, when it's like, Rob, you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? I'm about to do whatever I want. I'm going to sell bacon in sports and what I'm doing here. And where the comedy came in. So as I shared, the original seed was I am as good or better than everything I see in the world of sports from a content standpoint. I'm from Pittsburgh originally, so I'm a Steelers fan and I'm a Penguins fan. So I saw championships with Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr to Ben Roethlisberger there. I moved to Chicago, saw the Blackhawks win 3 Stanley Cups, watched the Cubs win 1 as well. So sports is in my blood. And it just so happens in Chicago, I moved across the street from Second City, the #1 comedy training center in the world that produced Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Chris Farley, Bill Murray, the cream of the crop in comedy. So remember, I'm on this growth mindset journey. And I sat there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and learn improv and comedy writing, not to become a comedian, but to learn the skill set and thinking of one. Because if I apply that to the lens for the way I create in the world of sports, I've got a skill that nobody else does. So because of that, I understood how to infuse sports, which I can do with my eyes closed, with original humorous content, put those things together, say hello to Bacon Sports.
Yeah, I love the combination. I always get frustrated when I watch. I'm not anywhere near as much of a sports fan as you are. I grew up with 2 immigrant parents who knew nothing about sports, so there was never a game on the television when I was a kid. So I was kind of a sports immigrant. And when I do watch ESPN or some post game show where all the talking heads come in, I get frustrated because there's good talk about the game, there's good talk about certain plays and things like that, but the interaction frequently between the personalities seems very saccharine. It seems forced. It seems slightly rehearsed. And It doesn't seem like five guys, five gals in a bar after a game talking about the game, having a good time. It just seems very corporate, if that makes sense in your world. So by combining authentic comedy and sports, which are, I can't think of two of, many more popular activities that humans have, sports and laughing, right? I mean, that just seems a perfect match, because at the end of the day, I mean, sports can be serious to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's a game. So, to take what a lot of people view as like super serious and to be able to infuse comedy into that, it's golden, I think. It's a great combination.
It is, but now I'll track back to the original question that you had around the business side of things.
Yes,
so the biggest challenge I had in starting Bacon Sports is, how do you monetize a publishing website if you don't do it with advertising? I just left selling digital advertising. There is no human on earth who knows more about how to monetize a website than me, because I just did it. And it is not the thing that I want to do, because one of the gifts I do have is vision. I got out of the online advertising industry because I saw where everything was going, on top of not enjoying it. Everything in that time was going from desktop to mobile, because here comes the iPhone. With mobile means fewer real estate to monetize, and then that means less ad revenue, and no one loves being in advertising to begin with. So you're like, let me put a bunch of crap on my website that's going in the wrong direction that no one enjoys, including myself. And I was like, well, that's stupid. I just left that life. I'm not building my model based on that. But the challenge was, Mike, if you're building a publishing company without an advertising model, what in the world are you doing? And it took me 3.5 years of banging my head against the wall to realize, who does not need to monetize via advertising revenue? And the answer is brands. Brands who want to market to sports fans, because much of their advertising is probably very sterile and corporate, and we don't relate to. So who better to help a company market to a sports fan than the number one sports fan in the world, who has a background in content creation and marketing? And that's when this flipped from a sports blog to a sports marketing agency.
Interesting. Entrepreneurs are frequently told to never give up, right? That's a mantra that we hear all the time. Never give up. But perseverance can sometimes become an unhealthy attachment to an original idea. How did you determine which parts of your original vision were worth preserving and which parts you just needed to let go of?
Not easy. There's no playbook for it. But what you said is actually the true anchor. So if there was only one piece of advice I could give to someone who is thinking about leaving their job to become an entrepreneur, or who's currently an entrepreneur themselves, it would be this: don't ever give up. Do not quit. Speaking of Jim Valvano's speech, don't give up, don't ever give up. And here's why. So while I'm going through these challenges, it's just so hard despite doing what I love. Very, very much a paradox for entrepreneurs. I sat there and you would see the stats about entrepreneurship. 50% of companies are out of business within 1 year, and 75% after 3 years, or whatever those numbers are. And I sat there and I was like, well, what's the difference between those who ended up going out of business and those who didn't? And it was one simple thing. Those who didn't go out of business didn't quit. So the number one thing I specialized in was not giving up, AKA believing in myself. Because there's a fallacy, and this was really hard for me, and I still feel like I am challenged by this to this day, that, man, this would have been so much easier if I was just an accountant, because everybody would know, oh, go to the accountant to do your taxes and your finances. There is no, Rob, what in the world do you do? But when I'm building Bacon Sports, people are like,
What's that?
Rob, I see what you're doing. Yeah. I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand how you're making money. I love it, but the business side isn't computing to them. And what I always told myself, and it didn't always feel good when people would say that, but I would always say to myself, it's not up to me for them to see my dream. I'm the one who's actively living this and building this. So the fallacy is that somehow my life is better if I'm just selling accounting because that's nice and easy to understand. That's not how I get down. I'm willing to evolve and create as an entrepreneur. And right now in the AI era with what I do, there's one word that I've said more than any with my clients. And it's actually the answer to what you're talking about right here, Mike, and is discernment. Mm-hmm. Your ability to know, do I do this or do I do that? Because oftentimes in entrepreneurship, there's not a right or a wrong. You can go right or left, red or blue, right? Website or not website. And the mindset becomes you make the decision, you move on, and you make it work. And then if it doesn't work, you make another decision, you move forward, and then you do it all over again. So to think that this is binary, like accounting, just isn't how entrepreneurship works. And I get it. Some people would be like, oh, is it a pivot? No, I see it more as an evolution.
Yeah. For over 15 years of entrepreneurship, you've moved through sports media, content creation, podcasting, coaching, leadership, and now AI. Which transition was the most difficult, or maybe also which transition was the easiest? And what did it teach you about separating your identity from the business that you are currently building? You've had several versions of Rob. So tell me about that journey.
Without a doubt, the hardest one was going from Rob, the sports guy in Bacon Sports, to Rob, the coach. Because I didn't have the identity of seeing myself as a coach.
Right.
But I lived like one for more than a decade. So the reason why coaching is so effortlessly for me is because this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I've done every single day for almost 2 decades in a row. But going from one dream to, and this will sort of tie it all together, the thing that really evolved my entrepreneurship was COVID, because I'd spent a decade building my dreams in sports. And then one day in March, March Madness is gone.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The NBA is gone. All sports are gone. And at that time, I was hired professionally as a host in sports betting. I'm helping brands market to sports fans. There's no games to talk about. There's no fans anywhere to do stuff there. So I had a real come to Jesus moment with myself in a good way. I saw where the sports industry was going, wrong direction, monetizing super hard, companies laying off people. So I'm like, well, this isn't going to help me achieve my goals for where I want to go for at least the next year. And even then, I'm in sports betting, the one vertical, which is actually on the up and up because legalization is starting to happen. But there's a part of me, and this isn't a judgment, it was just my own self-talk, that says, do I want to be known for slinging sports betting, or do I want to be known for helping people become the best version of themselves? And when I looked at that, I naturally coached in my content without even doing this, right? So similar to what you're experiencing here, Mike, I had a podcast, I'm sharing my journey, the lessons learned, my habits, my routines, everything. And I was like, man, I love helping people. All I want to do is help people. So that's when I fully stepped into Rob the coach. I had no branding, no marketing, no nothing. Boom, back down to zero again. And it took me a while to take on the identity of a coach. Felt incongruent. I didn't like saying it. Hey, Rob, what do you do? I'm a coach. Felt weird to me, right? Because I'd never
Was there a
Bacon
little
sports, boom, man.
was there a little imposter syndrome there, just because you weren't known for that? Your identity was not
No.
associated with that?
So, no, because the thing that is a superpower for me in coaching is I've earned it. So for me, I have earned confidence by putting in the reps for 16 years in a row. So if and when imposter syndrome comes in, it was not about my own credibility in coaching, because I can do it with my eyes closed, because it's like, Rob, how did you ... and how can I? But it was more seeing the identity of coaching being a thing for me, right? Because right now there's some people who are like, you know what, I think I'm going to be a coach. And maybe they tried on for size. They might do it for a year or 6 months. Like, oh, that wasn't for me. This was never part of like my purview like Bacon Sports was. And the subtext even still runs there for me right now that's different in these two lives that I've lived is that Bacon Sports and creating sports content was my dream. All in, every day, nonstop, as much as possible. And I'm still living my dream, but it feels different because coaching, this is an extension of it right now, Mike. My purpose in life is to be a positive force for good that leads others to what's possible. So right now is my zone of genius. I love sharing. I love helping. I love co-creating with people like you. You said this at the very top before we recorded. You're a creator at heart and you love to create. Me too. I'm like that. And it's still a little bit different than creating sports content.
Yeah. What initially convinced you that artificial intelligence wasn't simply just another useful business tool, but something significant enough to become the next major chapter of the work that you do?
What I'm about to say is an absolute superpower of mine, and I just wish that I could gift this to everybody, because if you can see this, the rest of your life will change. So, as I said, I've got the gift of vision. I was early in podcasting. I saw when digital advertising was going in the wrong direction. And it just so happens an entrepreneur friend of mine texted me the first week ChatGPT came out in December 2022. Week 1. I think it was day 5. So imagine, boom, ChatGPT's been out for only 5 days. And within the first minute of using it, I felt like I used the internet for the first time. Immediately, I saw the next decade of business, and I was all in. But why, Mike? Because I'm an entrepreneur who has grinded for 16 years in a row. And you're telling me this supercomputer is spitting out magic? And I'm like, this is unbelievable. Because for me in entrepreneurship, and Mike, I know you've lived this with your journey, every day in entrepreneurship is a series of obstacles, challenges, roadblocks, things you've never done, things you've never seen, things in your control, things out of your control. It is so dynamic. It is so fluid. There is so much uncertainty. There's no such thing as being comfortable as an entrepreneur, right? So I'm just like built for this. So when all of a sudden ChatGPT and AI came around, I was like, oh my God. This is just like using internet on day 1. And if this is what this looks like on the 5th day, what's this look like 10 years from now? All in. And here is the lens. And if everybody gets this, man, it's your superpower. I saw this from opportunity, not scarcity. So many people say, I don't have a tech background. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have enough time. All that is scarcity or fixed mindset 101. For me, I was like, well, why don't I just put all my goals and dreams and vision into AI and start building on top of it? It's happening faster, better, in ways that have never been done before. So legitimately, this is first hour of using ChatGPT. The first thing I did was put my dreams in there. And it's like, brr, brr, brr. And I was like, whoa. At that point, there was no stopping me, and I was all in.
You describe your philosophy as human first. what does that mean beyond just a slogan? And how should it influence the way entrepreneurs make decisions about where and how to use artificial intelligence?
So I'll break it apart because I just said it in the subtext. Where I came from, right? I didn't say, oh my God, here's a tool where I can get rid of employees and make everything more sterile and robotic and tech and all that. Remember, I have no AI background, no coding background, no tech background. But I do have a background in being an entrepreneur for 15 years and being a high performance and personal development coach. And what matters most in AI? Context, AKA what you put in. So where everybody fails is they let AI go first. They put something in. Oh my God, this looks like trash. It sounds like a robot. This is generic. I don't like it. Well, they put the AI first and the human second and says this thing doesn't work. I roll in and I'm like, oh, I'm the leader. You're my assistant. Let me put in my goals, my vision, my values. And when you understand that the key to success in AI is your mindset and how you think and what you put into it, then you understand the human first perspective. Because put everything that's inside of your heart into AI first, not the other way around, and watch what happens. You will create better results than everybody else. But Mike, I know you know this. You then pop on LinkedIn or everywhere and people are like, oh my God, there's AI slop all over the place. Why? Because there's no heart. Everyone's just trying to game the system because they can do more blog posts by pushing two buttons as opposed to saying, what's the goal and dream I'm trying to accomplish and how can AI support me in that? Yeah. By changing the relationship, you change the output, and it's actually counterintuitive to the way the rest of the world is going to use this, which ends up turning this into the ultimate advantage.
Yeah, I completely agree. So many entrepreneurs use ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Gemini or whatever, occasionally to write an email or a social media post. One of my pet peeves in life, Rob, is when I see an obvious, super obvious post, an AI-generated post on LinkedIn, filled with stupid emojis, M dashes everywhere, all the tells of AI. Because to me, my mind goes, I overthink it. My mind goes, okay, this person probably doesn't know anything about what they're talking about. They're reading this as verbatim. This is the gospel, and they put no effort into teaching the model who they are. It doesn't know their voice. They're simply putting ChatGPT's voice out there, right? And the AI, I use it daily. I've been using it for a few years now, and it knows my voice. In fact, sometimes too well. Because if I want to write something in a different voice, I have to kind of say, well, no. Quit bringing this stuff into it. I know I like to say this, but, hold off. But it definitely can be an extension of your voice. It can make your voice more powerful. It can make your voice more directed. It can clarify things that maybe you're not seeing. But ultimately, it's your voice. It's not cheating. It's enhancing. But a lot of entrepreneurs, business founders, managers, use it just to write an email or a social media post or, just ask a question, which is just skimming the surface. What separates someone who is merely experimenting with AI from someone who's truly building an AI established business?
It's simple. Step one, personalization. So just making it yours. AI runs on context. So when you're seeing all that AI slop, that's because that person didn't do anything to dial in their voice, and all they really had to say is, hey, here's my brand voice, give them 5 to 10 words. I am personable, witty, brand safe, knowledgeable, talks with good vibes. Sounds like Rob now. And Mike, here's what I like to say to the droves of LinkedIn that's like, I can tell you're writing with AI and all of that, is be so good with AI that they want to pay you.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Because you actually said it in what you were saying, is they put in no effort, AKA no intention. So you can put these 3 words into AI, and if you say it and every time you prompt, you will immediately be better. Intention by design. You can just say, hey, Claude, I want to use intention by design in the way that I share this message around this incredible conversation I had about entrepreneurship with Rob and Mike. And the real point that I want to get across is always believe in yourself, because things are going to be challenging, but if you keep moving on, great things will happen. Help me write that in a way that flows. I'm conversational in what I do. And I wanted to end with a CTA of, hey, tell me about your moment when you took the big leap for entrepreneurship. Look at just how much more detailed that was versus write me a LinkedIn post about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I mail it right there.
Yeah.
So personalization is the first one. And then, Mike, the second one here, I've got a term for this. I call it emails versus rocket ships. And here's what this means. One of the biggest skills you can learn in AI is thinking bigger. Because it's just as easy for Claude to write you an email as it is to have you build a rocket ship to the moon. Because right now, Elon Musk is using AI to try and siphon off percentages of the sun's energy to power AI. And everybody else is sitting here being like, I can barely write an email with it. So in between there is the capacity of what AI can do.
Yeah.
So if you're only working on small things, then of course you're going to have small problems. But if you're working on big things, you don't got time for these small things. So let's elevate what we're putting inside of AI. And then once you've raised the vision, think in systems, because systems scale. So instead of write me one email, it becomes, how can I use Claude to manage my inbox, read everything, highlight the things that need me, write a draft that's in my replies, and then me or my assistant will review it before we send it. Oh, so now we can build systems that build our business. And then as we move forward with agentic AI, that's just going to be a series of systems run on systems, which quite frankly is no different than entrepreneurship. It's just more innovative.
Some employees hear AI integration and immediately worry about being replaced. We're hearing that all the time. AI is going to replace, it's going to devastate the economy because no one's going to be able to have a job. I think I wasn't around during the days, but I think the same conversations happened during the Industrial Revolution when the steam engine came out. I think the same conversations happened when automobiles came out, particularly if you were a blacksmith. The same conversations happened when electricity was discovered and implemented. The same, now this is the part I start to remember, the same conversations happened when computers, personal computers came out, when the internet came out, and now when AI comes out. It is history repeated. I've heard it many times before, and it has never resulted in the doom of civilization. In fact, today, our economy, and pretty much every economy around the world, is larger and arguably stronger in many metrics than it was in the 1800s when we first started complaining about that. I'm sure at some point the cavemen, when they discovered how to make fire, someone thought, okay, I'm out of a job, So I think this is a long tradition of ignorance-based fear and fear-mongering. How should a leader introduce AI in a way that creates curiosity and participation rather than fear and resistance?
I mean, it's super simple. What you focus on expands. So if you focus on scarcity, guess what you're going to get? Scarcity, right? What did I say? Be so good with AI that they want to pay you. So here's the misplaced focus, Mike, and we know this because we're entrepreneurs. AI is entrepreneurship. but not everybody's built for entrepreneurship and sees this from this lens. So many of them see AI and like, oh my God, it's gonna take our jobs. Me as an entrepreneur, I'm like, oh my God, this is the gateway to all of my dreams happening faster. That single framing. And the challenge inside of organizations is simple from my perspective. Success rises or falls to the level of leadership. And you cannot give to others that which you're not experiencing yourself. So a lot of leaders, CEOs, executives, they've been very comfortable making multiple six figures. We're crushing, we're doing good. But guess what? We're in the ultimate show me your receipts era. AI doesn't care who you are, what's in your bank account, how much money you've made, and how long you've been in there. What it cares about is, are you using it or not? And the thing that is stopping everybody, Mike, and this is just so dumb, is learning AI is no different than learning how to ride a bike or play guitar. Because 3.5 years ago, I started at zero. Whenever you started at zero. So this is just growth mindset 101. If you're in a fixed mindset, I can't help you because you don't want to be in the game, right? You either want to be better. So in your organization, whether it's a leader and you're a team, we're just going to have some conversations. Do you want to be a better version of yourself? If so, AI ain't going away. It's going to be here for the rest of your life. Do you want to learn it or not? The best way to learn is via experience. And Mike, here's a simple question I ask people because I'm privy to a lot of conversations. And you can answer this yourself, and so can anybody listening right now. Just ask yourself this simple question. Number one, how many hours a week do you use AI? And then number two, ask yourself, how many hours a week are you learning about AI? And here's what ends up happening. Most people are like, I'm using it 1 or 2 hours a week. How many hours are you learning? None. Okay, cool. Well, you just told me everything. So we complain about AI taking our jobs, but we're making no effort.
Right.
So it's kind of hard when we complain about not achieving our goals from the actions we don't take. Because here's the true reality. High performers, we're never losing our jobs because we're going to keep innovating and growing and making things happen. And if everything doesn't go the way we want, we're going to figure out another way. But I ain't stopping. And this is an energy, right? It's a way of showing up and creating in the world. And I'm here to help everybody. So anybody who wants to learn how to be better with ChatGPT or Claude, just DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn at Rob Cressy. DM me, Mike. I'll send you my number one resource that can help you. I truly want to help. But if you don't do it, I'm all good because Mike and I are already doing it. Right? So that's the true reality of it. You get to choose what you do, place your bets, let the chips fall where they may.
No, I like that. Tell me about your podcast. We are both podcasters. This is podcaster to podcaster, which happens more than one would think on this show. Your podcast is called Undeniable Leader Podcast. Tell me about the podcast. Why do you do it? What's it about? Who's your audience? Stuff like that.
It's a perfect segue. My 2026 word of the year is undeniable. Right? Be undeniable in all areas of your life. So I truly embody these words. So I changed the name of my podcast from Built for the Game to The Undeniable Leader, right? This is an identity. It's a way of showing up in the world. It's who you see yourself to be. This is business. This is life. This is AI. I changed my newsletter to The Undeniable Newsletter. I changed my AI group coaching program to The Undeniable Studio. Because imagine if the way that you showed up in life and with AI was undeniable. What would that look like? So many people say, oh, the people winning with AI, they just have more tech skills. Wrong answer. Imagine if you saw yourself as undeniable. What would that look like? What are your habits? What are your routines? What are your mindsets? how is that manifesting in the way that you're using AI? So I just pay it forward to everybody else, whether I'm doing a solo episode or I bring on guests to have conversations about helping you win in business and life for the long haul to be undeniable. Because the simplest part of success in AI is leadership. Your ability to step up and lead yourself first. I'm going to learn how to use AI and then lead others, because I truly feel a responsibility to share what I've learned, because I know not very many people do what I do. And like you with your show, Mike, man, a lot of people helped me along the way. So I want to pay that thing forward.
Yeah, very good. You and I share similar mantras, single word mantras. Yours is undeniable. Mine has been unstoppable. I think they're similar in intention. When someone starts a business, when I started a business, and many other entrepreneurs, there are, you mentioned it earlier, all sorts of obstacles in the way, all sorts of challenges. I liken it to a video game where you've never played the game before, so you last maybe 2 levels, and then you're out of lives. And then you play it again, and you kind of master the first 2 or 3 or 4 levels, and then you get to level 5, and it's like, oh my God, it's a whole new game. New monsters, new trapdoors, new whatever, fewer lives. And almost like the movie, it was a Tom Cruise movie. Was it Inception, where he kept reliving the same day over and over and kept dying at the end of the day, and then eventually, worked his way through the maze and all of that. I think business is very similar to that, and it's filled with challenges. And to be undeniable as your identity or unstoppable, you need that, because business left to its own devices will lead to failure if you don't up your game, shift to a higher skill set, never give up. All the mantra things that we hear on posters, they're all applicable, but you have to persevere and keep pushing and learning. It's not just like stubbornness. You can't just have stubbornness alone. You actually have to learn something, and become savvier in business and become and to reset your skill level to the appropriate scale the business requires at its level of scale. So it's definitely a process that requires a lot of undeniability, a lot of unstoppability, a lot of grit, a lot of determination.
And it's not comfortable and it's not easy. And for most people, they don't like that. They're not built for it.
Right.
Comfortable is always comfortable. It's why Netflix ain't going out of business anytime soon, because it's pretty easy to sit there on your couch and watch Netflix instead of working out or learning how to use AI. And it's why you become built for this, right? Because in entrepreneurship, nothing is given for you. Everything is earned. And even when you show up and do things the right way for decades at the time, you can still not make progress. You can grow, but you can still not be where you want to be. And this is where your mindset and your personal development is so important, because you don't want to have a short-term mindset, because when you play the long game, you win. So you understand the macro, but you also understand entrepreneurship is a series of day-by-day, moment-to-moment moments stacked for decades at a time. So many of the skill sets of the way the game is played are super challenging, trial by fire, and you've got to be willing to never give up, right? Very few entrepreneurs just pop out being like, wow, I just made $1 million by doing almost nothing. I don't know anybody. It wasn't my path, right? And one of the challenging things we all have to learn, it's cliche, but it's also true, is that a dream is not your achievement of getting at the top of the mountain. The dream is actually the day-to-day journey of going to the top of the mountain there. But nobody wants to hear that. They would rather hear, wow, I'm an Instagram influencer. I'm just flying to Greece and I'm working on my laptop there. But the true reality is entrepreneurship, it is hard, it is gritty, it is challenging. And that's why every single day we have to show up. And it's why I love the man in the arena quote from Teddy Roosevelt, right? Everybody likes to laugh and mock and make fun of the people in the arena, except for the fact that nobody else is in the arena, except for the gladiator who is marred with blood and dust and everything. And he shows up and man, you earn that, right? So that's where this confidence comes from me, because I pay my dues every single day. So I relate to you because not only do you share and help others, but you're like, hey, unstoppable is my word, undeniable is my word. We're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what entrepreneurship looks like. Not easy, but this is how we think.
Yeah. I think a lot of, to your point earlier about the journey, I think a lot of entrepreneurs believe there is a destination. And the longer I've been in this, a lot of people will ask me, Mike, what's your exit strategy? I'm like, to me, the destination is the journey. There is no like formal destination where all of a sudden I'm handed a diploma and $1 billion in cash and I go off into the sunset happy. Because if that ever happened, I would just start something over again, because I thrive in the journey. And I did not feel that way early on. It's like the journey was a grind. I felt like I was in boot camp. I was like, when am I going to get out of boot camp? The drill sergeants, which are the business gods, are just pounding me and breaking me and rebuilding me. It didn't feel good. It felt very uncomfortable. But now with some altitude and perspective and over 3 decades, I'm like, I don't want this to be over. I don't want the diploma and the $1 billion. And, it's a metaphor, so I can say that. But I am thoroughly enjoying the journey, and I've become self-aware, and this took a long time, that I am in a journey. I am learning every day. I'm 65 years old, and I can tell you, I will learn things today that I did not know yesterday. AI helps with that, and conversations like this, and the 110 prior guests that I've had on before you, all get soaked up, and I'm richer for it. And I am better for it, and I'm savvier for it. And I don't want that part to end. I don't want to just sit on my private island with my piles of gold and be bored and not grow anymore. I thrive on growth, personal growth, and I don't want that to be over. So I am digging the journey, and to me, that is in my case, that's the ultimate definition of success. It's not the destination. So I'm going to ask you a success-related question, the final question, because we're about out of time. And I ask every guest this question. So going back to younger Rob, you've been doing this for 15 years. You've done many, many other things, for a decade or more before that. How did younger Rob define success? And how does today's Rob define success?
Two completely different humans. It's not even close. The word embarrassing is not part of my vocabulary. It's almost embarrassing, right? Because of the perspective
right?
of what
cringeworthy by new Rob standard.
Right? Yeah, thank God that Facebook Memories pops up in 16 years ago. Me, you're like, oh my God.
Oh my God, yeah, take that off, yeah.
Yeah. My definition of success in my 20s was having fun. I was you'd say work hard, play hard, but the work hard part wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I was the play hard guy, right? Because when you didn't like your life, you're just living for the weekend. So my definition of success was hanging out, having fun, and partying is what it is. It's actually benefited me now because I'm a very social person who understands how to relate to people. So it wasn't like there was nothing there. That was my definition of success then. My definition of success now is, and man, I so relate to everything that you shared about your journey with growth. I see my life in entrepreneurship as a mindset, a lifestyle, and a way of being. Something that is completely in my control that I self-create. it doesn't mean that I can control everything, but I can control how I respond to the situations. So I truly live every day on a day-by-day basis because we can't control the future. We can't do anything in the past, but all you have is a moment-to-moment basis. So how do I make this my best day ever? Well, you make it your best hour ever, your best minute ever, your best moment ever. So right now, Mike, legitimately, this is like the best moment right now for me because I'm here with you and I love doing this. And after I'm done with this, I'm going to go for a run and then I'm going to go play with my 4-year-old son and it's going to be great. And not to get all woo-woo, but there's an element of being present in the moment, certainly in this AI and social media and tech-driven world, that we want to come back to, ironically enough, being human and enjoying the moment-to-moment nature of the things that we can create. Because right now, man, I'm loving being here with you. That's a huge victory. And I'm going to love doing what I'm doing next. And I'm going to love doing that. And I'm going to rinse and repeat that. And when you understand all of this is completely in your control, then that's why the bigger risk is not taking the risk, because anything you want to create in your life, you can create. So be it.
Yeah. Great definition of success. Great advice. Great conversation. To my audience, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you look right down here below me, it says see more. Click that and you'll get links to Bacon Sports and the Undeniable Leader podcast. I've been on, and a link to your Rob Cressy website. And if I was visiting that website yesterday and this morning, and there are some good offers on there that seem very interesting regarding AI. So I will put the links, the URLs right there in the show notes. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, by all means, go to that podcast app, look at the show notes, and that information on how to get a hold of Rob and his company and his podcast will all be right there. Rob Cressy, thanks so much for the generous donation of your time. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think you said it earlier. I think in many aspects, we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Mike. Sending tons of love and good vibes your way. And if there's anything I can do to help you or anybody in your audience, just hit me up.
All right, here are some final thoughts. Rob's story is a reminder that entrepreneurship rarely follows a straight line. The business you begin may not be the business you ultimately build. And the person you are when you start may not be the person capable of leading the next chapter. Growth often requires us to release an old entity before we can fully step into the new one. That same principle applies to artificial intelligence. The opportunity isn't simply to use a new tool to work faster. It's to rethink how we create, make decisions, develop people, and serve our customers. But, as Rob emphasized, technology should amplify our humanity, not replace it. Judgment, empathy, creativity, relationships, and leadership remain distinctly human advantages. Entrepreneurs have always had to adapt, but the pace of change is accelerating. We don't need to understand every new platform or chase every trend. We do need to remain curious, willing to experiment, and honest about where our businesses and our own skills need to evolve. Perhaps the greatest risk isn't trying something new and failing. It's becoming so attached to what worked yesterday that we miss what's possible tomorrow. Now, that's a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We've been very busy recording future episodes with amazing guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, of course, we'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com where you can apply or recommend a guest or just learn more about the show. And a couple of shameless plugs. I've started a new series under the Reluctant Entrepreneur brand. The new series is called Reluctant Lessons, Where Businesses Go Wrong. On this series, we dig into high-profile business failures and the story behind it all. So far, we've profiled numerous companies with many, many more to come. You know, as it turns out, there's no shortage. Check them out right here on this channel. And if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon, and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. And finally, to everyone listening or watching, if you find yourself stepping into entrepreneurship, whether that's by choice or by circumstance, remember this. Sometimes the path we never planned becomes the journey we were meant to take. Well, that's me. I'm all out of time. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate all of you, and I'll see you again on the next episode.